Thanks for joining us here on Sun News Live. Hundreds of Ontario's municipal leaders are headed to an annual conference in Ottawa this week. The conference, known as the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, kicks off tomorrow. Almost 1,600 civic leaders are expected to be in attendance. This year, the theme of the conference is called Communities Inspiring and Aspiring. Astronaut Chris Hadfield is set to deliver the conference's keynote address. Ontario's Premier Kathleen Wynne, PC leader Tim Hudak, and NDP leader Andrea Horwath will all be in attendance. The conference runs for 3 days. Ontario has recently released its first quarter economic report, which has prompted the province's finance minister to take a road trip throughout the province of Ontario. Charles Sousa is expected to lead sessions that will focus on job growth. The government has launched a plan dubbed the Path to Jobs and Growth. Sousa aims to get input from the people of Ontario on employment numbers and economic growth. Well, joining us with more on this and some analysis as well, we're joined by Sun News contributor Marco Glassman. And Marco, let's start with Mr. Sousa's road trip. I'm wondering if this is going to make any difference in the fortunes of the Liberal Party of Ontario.
Well, you know, it'll be interesting to see, Brian. I think, you know, they needed to do something. They needed to somehow get out a message, which is that they are economic managers, that Kathleen Wynne as the new premier is somebody that can actually get it done, that can create jobs. I think right now you see the fact that there is a $11.7 billion deficit, the fact that there is a 7.6% unemployment in July, which is higher than the national average, and it's consistently been higher than the national average. I think that shows that they really need to change things around, or at least somehow develop a better message. And I think that Charles Sousa is, for them, at least the best person to do that. No, not just because he's the finance minister, but because he does have that background, a little bit of a business background, and I think that it hasn't worked with Kathleen Wynne. They've tried to brand her as a jobs premier, or at least with an ad in the past, but now they're going to try to have Sousa go across the country. I will say, Brian, what's interesting is it's not the first time that they've gone and consulted with the people, if you will. We've now had we had pre-budget consultations before the budget in April, where they had three in different parts of the province. They had three different ones. We've also had the Drummond report, which of course isn't the people of Ontario, but certainly was a good indicator as to what needs to be done in order to get our fiscal house in order. And still, we you know, the Liberals are saying they need more time. Now the NDP, they've been strong in saying, look, like, you've had 10 years to do this. In fact, they called it Gilles Bisson, the NPP, called it a dog and pony show. But what's been going on, and in many ways he's right. So I think that it is, in terms of a political move, it's actually a smart thing for them to try to change the channel by having Sousa go out there again and consult with the people.
Economically speaking, though, Marco, there is a glimmer of hope for the people of Ontario, because the latest quarterly report does show some things are improving. Is this Sousa's job to show that little improvement and say we are moving in the right direction as a province, as a government?
I think it is. I do think that he is, however, going to be portraying the government as a new government. He's going to be portraying them as going forward a new plan and a new vision, for that Kathleen Wynne's vision. I don't think he's going to be relying on, well, the Liberal plan has been working, because in the last few years it hasn't seemed to be working. And the fact that you have a lot of people that are angry with the way things are going right now. I think you're going to see. That's why if he was really just hammering out the fact that they are doing a great job, then he wouldn't be saying we're going to seek the advice from Ontarians as to, and associations and organizations and so forth, of how we can do better.
Well, you know, Marco, we should move along to what's happening in Ottawa this week with the 1,600 municipal leaders, mayors and what have you from around Ontario gathering in Ottawa. The three party leaders are going to be there. Is this an opportunity for the three of them to lay their platform down for an election? Fall, spring, we don't know yet.
Absolutely, I think it is. I think it's an opportunity for the Premier Kathleen Wynne, first of all, to get a few people back in her camp, or at least quell some of the anger that has come out in certain communities. Particularly, remember, this is happening in Ottawa and in Eastern Ontario. There's been a lot of people that are unhappy with her lately. I think that the fact that they only won in Ottawa South by 1,300 votes is a little bit scary for the Liberals, seeing as though that's generally been a very strong riding for them. So I think she's going to be quelling some of the concern over issues. I mean, they talk about at this conference, it's about communities here, and the reality is certain issues like the wind farm issue, the wind turbine issue, which I've already heard is being talked about there. The reality is that's something that's pitting communities against each other. That's pitting regions against each other. So I think that she really needs to be somebody who is able to bring people together and act like, in a sense, act like the premier. As for the other two leaders, I think for Tim Hudak, he really needs to portray himself as the premier in waiting. I think he needs to portray portray himself as somebody, and he has done. The message will be similar to what it has been. It'll be all about jobs in the economy. It'll be all about the things that I've said in the past. With $11.7 billion deficit. He's going to be reminding people of that. Unemployment, they'll be reminding people of that. And for Andrea Horwath, she's going to be portraying herself as the person that gets things done, because essentially that's the way they feel that they got in the budget. They got big wins for them in the budget.
All right, fall or spring, call it.
Spring.
All right,
yeah.
I'm going to hold you to that, Marco.
All right.
Thanks for this. That was Sun News contributor Marco Glassman joining us here in studio.